Hello everybody, welcome in to Trackalicious, where today we head to Spain for round number 5 of the Le Mans Ultimate GT3 Sprint Championship. We are getting down to the end of it, just 3 rounds remain. We have today in Spain. Next week will be round number 6. Being held at, let me check for you real quick, Spa next week for round number 6, and then to finish things off, the last Monday of the month, excuse me, last Tuesday of the month, we will be at Paul Ricard for the season finale. So that's right, just 3 rounds remain now. Up until the end of this championship. Up until this point, it has been 4 race wins for Jake Terrell. Out of the 4 rounds we have had so far, he has had some close competition in those races. But we'll see if anybody can challenge him tonight around Barcelona, Catalonia. The drivers have been getting in the practice laps in the preparation for the qualifying, and we will have 20 minutes on the clock, but it'll be split into 2 10-minute sessions. The first 10 will go to either the even or the odds, and then the second half will go to the other. And at the beginning, there will be a minute for the drivers to get their setups ready and loaded, so that way they can begin. My cat decided to come say hello. Say hello to everybody. Hello. And without further ado, the action is getting ready to rumble. Let's head down to Spain to see what the drivers are getting up to. They're trundling down to the end of the pits. Thibaut van Kampenhout, the first driver out in the 810 Mercedes, finished on the podium last week in his season debut. What can he do here in round number 5? Can he carry that momentum from the last round we had, of course, missing last week with a break due to the 4th of July holiday? But we are back in action here. Not Mercedes, Harrison, excuse me. Thibaut van Kampenhout leads the even-numbered drivers out on track behind him. We've got Jace Wright in the number 24 Lambo. Quick one-lap pace, but we've seen the Lambo be quite difficult to tame over a race period. Can he and Brian De Santiago, also in the Lamborghini, get to grips with the V10 in the back of that car? And speaking of Mercedes, Harrison, here is the Corvette, the 830, trundling out of the pits. And Mercedes with a podium finish in round number 2, looking to get back up into the top 3. Of course, had some unlucky races as well, getting thrown to the back during lap 1, but in those races where the pace showed of the Corvette, got some pretty good results. So we'll see what tonight brings for Mercedes. Harrison, one bigly thank you for the donation. Amazing. Thank you very much from myself and all of the staff doing the hard work in the background to keep things running as smoothly as they do. So thank you very much for that. Wouldn't be here without you guys doing it. So the 810 Mercedes through the first sector, a bit of a wiggle on the exit of turn 4. Slightly downhill run here into turn 5. For the time being, the Mercedes is the quickest of the drivers that have gone through Sector 1 so far. That's what that purple indicator next to Van Kampenhout's name on the top left is. The green means a personal best, which all of the drivers will have personal bests on their first lap. And it is, of course, does take some time to get those tires warmed up and get used to the conditions that are out on track at the moment. And Kampenhout now through the updated third sector of the track, where turn 10 opened up a little bit and they removed the chicane, so it is a quick end to the lap. Large sweeping corners to the right to finish things off, a dab of the brakes before getting on full power to both finish this lap and start the next one. Van Kampenhout to the top. It's a 142.5. What will the rest of the field bring in behind? Ryan Joyner in the Corvette through the final 2 corners. Ali gets on the board about 4 seconds slower than the leading Mercedes. Right, about 15 seconds slower, but gets a lap on the board. Those two looking for another lap here. What will Ryan Joyner do? About 1.8 seconds down, slides ahead of the Lexus and Lamborghini for the time being. Mercedes Harrison with a purple Sector 2, able to improve on the sector time of Van Kampenhout. Will we see Mercedes Harrison challenge for a spot on the front row here in the early goings of the qualifying session? Out of the final corner, full power down for the V8 Corvette. And running up to the line, a little over a tenth behind Van Kampenhout's time, who is not improving on his lap. Slower in Sector 1, but does get an overall best Sector 2 in the 810. And it's also personal bests on the board for Jace Wright and Hashim Ali. Let's see what the Lexus can do going into the final sector. Into the updated turn 10, you can see the old remainings of that inside line, but much more of a sweeping corner than it was before, just allowing the drivers to carry a touch more speed through, a little bit deeper on the brakes as well. And now into the final corner goes the Lexus. How close can he get to the front row? Van Kampenhout improves by 1/10 of a second, and Ali improves by his personal best by 2 seconds. Jace Wright will split the Corvettes and go to third, and about 3/10 separate the Lamborghini from Van Kampenhout on the top spot. We'll see what Mateo can do. Still no time from the Mustang. Personal best Sector 1 and 2. This is his first timed lap, so got out of the pits a little bit later than he would have liked. And now through the final corner in the 787. Where will the Mustang go? He will go onto the second row behind Jace Wright, ahead of Joyner. Not a big gap between Joyner and Mateo, just 22 thousandths of a second. And Harrison goes to the top spot, a 142.311, and there is still an improvement possible for Harrison. A little bit down on the time in Sector 3, and now an overall best Sector 1 here for Harrison. And Van Kampenhout responds and goes about 3/10 quicker in the 810 Mercedes. What about Joyner? Does he have 22 thousandths of a second into him to get ahead of Mateo, who is now back in the pit? So that might be the session done for the 787. Ali improves past the pair of Mateo and Joyner. But what can Joyner do now coming up to the line? A little bit down on his times. Can't get a personal best on the board. Still that 22,000 separating him from Mateo, who cannot respond. Back in the pits is the Mustang. And George Elmer gets a lap on the board there, about a 1/10.5 behind Ryan Joyner's effort. But with 2 minutes on the clock, George Elmer with enough time for 2 more laps. Harrison with a response to the top, and into the 141s we go. It's a 141.975 from the Corvette, 42 thousandths ahead of Thibaut van Kampenhout. So the Mercedes going through the final sector, down on his time in sector 1 and 2. But can he have a mighty sector 3 to get the outright provisional pole position spot? It won't be on this lap, but he's got one more lap, do or die here for the 810. Right at the end of the session to try and get it done. 42 thousandths is the gap to Mercedes Harrison in provisional pole position. Jace Wright back in the pits. Interesting that graphic's not showing that he's back in the pits. But anyway, he's back in the pits. We'll see what Elmer can do. He needs that 1/10.5 to get ahead of Joyner, and now to the line he goes, and he finds more than that. Gets ahead of Mateo and Joyner into the top 5. Crosses the line before the checkered flag waves for the even-numbered drivers as well. So he has time for one more effort here. Needs about 2 tenths to get ahead of Hashim Ali. So Mercedes Harrison back in the pits. A 141.9 is the 975 is the exact target time for the rest of the grid to chase down the 810. Slower in sector 1, slower in sector 2. Now it is just sector 3 remaining for the AMG, and he drifts out of turn 13, and that will be the session done for the 810. 42 thousandths is what will separate our top 2 for the time being. Oh, I see what happened there. Mateo had to return to the pits. He was an even or an odd numbered driver qualifying with the evens. So not sure what sort of penalty will be imposed for that, but nonetheless, George Elmer looking to get ahead of the Lexus, who cannot get a personal best on his final effort in the 686. So this is the last of the even numbered drivers. George Elmer coming up to the line. Does he have 2 tenths on this lap? Personal best sector 1, down on his time in sector 2. Will it be a mighty sector 3 from the Ferrari? He gets so close, within 50 thousandths of a second. 0.046 the gap between the Ferrari and the Lexus. So now what can the even number drivers do? Ivan Cabral leads them out of the pits in the 157. He sits in second place in the championship with 3 second place finishes to his name and a 4th place in round number 2. A consistent podium finisher. What does he have in store for us tonight in the 157? Just behind him, Grant Lucarelli switching to the Ferrari, so that means he has lost all of his championship points in the number 11. But hey, it's all about having fun and enjoying the cars you want to drive. So we'll see what Lucarelli can do in the Ferrari. Ivan Cabral already setting in the early pace with a personal, or the overall best Sector 1. Jake Terrell, the driver behind Lucarelli, on track. He leads the championship. He's got 4 race wins on the season right in a row. So we'll see if he can make it 5 for 5 on the night here tonight. As we approach the bridge between turn 9 and 10. Jake Terrell hard on the brakes in the Porsche into the final sector. Cabral looking like he's got the pace early on here. Purple sector 1 and 2 for the 157. Now just one corner left. Dab of the brakes, pitches the car in. And now coming up to the line, can he get ahead of the grid and go to the top spot? He can. It's a 141.499, nearly half a second clear of Mercedes Harrison. Lucarelli to 4th. Jake Terrell goes to 5th. Afawakwa goes to 6th place. Zach Terrell goes to 8th. As Brett Samuelson comes up to the line in the Lexus, he will go up to 13th. Hildenbrand to 11th. Green Echo into the top 10, up to 9th, pushes Ali and Elmer to 10th and 11th. And now with one Bigley, thank you for the donation, out of the final corner to the line, and the Mustang gets ahead of Dr. Porkchop. It needs about 7/10 to get ahead of Brett Samuelson. Afawakwa in the number 23. Driver that sits in 3rd in the championship, a podium finish in round number 3, and a top 5 results in the other races. What can the number 23 do? Coming up to the line for the second time. It's an improvement in Sector 1, yellow Sector 2, and a little bit too much inside curb. Afawakwa slowed down a little bit more than he would have liked, and that might just compromise his next lap a touch with this long straightaway separating him from turn 1. Jake Terrell gets ahead of Grant Lucarelli, so those two swapping positions. Lucarelli now in 4th, Jake Terrell, or excuse me, Lucarelli in 5th, Jake Terrell in 4th. Brett Samuelson improves up into the top 10 in his number 29 Lexus. Now one Bigley to the line again, improves on the time, gets within a 10th of Ebube Honor. But at the moment, no improvements inside the top 6. Top 10 even, lots of yellow sectors. Josh Hildenbrand is improving, though. He's got a green Sector 1 on the board, and this is that view from the bridge above the straightaway between 9 and 10. And Hildenbrand down on his time in Sector 2. We'll see what Sector 3 brings for the number 7 BMW. Out of the final corner, Hildenbrand looking for 0.3 of a second to get ahead of Elmer to slide into 12th. He'll find more than that to get into 11th. Gets ahead of Ali and Elmer. Now the gap 1/10 to Brett Samuelson for a position inside the top 10. Ebube Honor improves into 14th, gets ahead of Mateo and Joyner. Now needs about half a second to find the time of George Elmer. Mustang sparking on the left-hand side as it dips into the corner. Now on the right-hand side, as the car just pitching with the change of direction. Splitter just grinding on the concrete or asphalt. As Honor gets a personal best Sector 2 on the board, slightly down on the time in Sector 1. But the tight and technical Sector 3 brings another challenge right before the end, where it is just full power to the line. So now can the Mustang find that half a second he needs to get ahead? Not quite. Can't get a personal best on the board on that lap. Lucarelli and Afawakwa returning to the pits. Jake Terrell works his way out of turn 4 into turn 5 in the number 69 Porsche. He currently sits in 8th place. Needs about 3/10 of a second to get to Jace Wright. A further 10th can find him ahead of Nana Afawakwa, as high up as 6th place. It's looking good so far. Personal best Sector 1 on the board for Zach. We'll see how it is as he crosses over the Sector 2 timing board. The checkered flag is out. Time is up, and Zach Terrell oversteers out of turn 10. And that will be the session done for the number 69. Bube able to avoid the same trouble at turn 10, but out of 13. A visit to the gravel trap. We'll see the 55 pull off to the side of the road, and that will be the session done. As Green Echo drifting through the final corner, but keeping it just about under control. Might not be the fastest time, but certainly some style points earned by Green Echo. Great camera view of the barrier there as Dr. Porkchop, the last driver to have any say about the qualifying order. Can he get an improvement coming up to the line in the Golf Aston Martin? He can't quite do it there. So that'll be the session done for Dr. Porkchop. And the rest of the grid as well. So they will go back to the pits, get their race setups loaded, and they will have 90 seconds before they must take the grid and be ready for the start of the race.
Teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
So let's go through our qualifying order from back to front. Brian DeSantiago in the 777 Lamborghini will start from 19th. Thank you, Cali Official. Welcome to the podium. The Big 30. We'll get more on that in just a second. Large grid, not a lot of time. Let's get through it. Dr. Porkchop next in 18th in the number 71 He is in the Aston Martin, starting on the 8th row of the grid. It's one Bigley in the 253 Mustang. Next to him is Ryan Joyner in 16th place in the number 20 Corvette. Then you have the two Mustangs on the 7th row, Diego Mateo in the 787 and a Bube Honor in the 55. Then you've got George Elmer in the number 22 Ferrari, starting from 13th, next to Hashim Ali in the 686 Lexus. Josh Hildenbrand just outside the top 10 in 11th in the number 7 BMW. Brett Samuelson in the number 29 will get a top 10 start in his Lexus. He lines up next to Green Echo in the number 27 Buzz Lightyear Porsche. Zach Terrell starts from 8th. And here we go, off on the formation lap. So Zach Terrell in the 69 Porsche in 8th, next to Jace Wright in the 24 Lamborghini in 7th. Then you have Nana Afawakwa and Grant Lucarelli next to each other, the 23 Mercedes in 6th and the 11 Ferrari in 5th. Championship leader Jake Terrell starting from 4th in the number 83 Porsche, next to the 810 of Thibaut van Kampenhout, who gets a top 3 start. The front row is Mercedes Harrison in the 830 Corvette, and Ivan Cabral in the 157 Porsche leads the grid. Can he convert it to a race win here tonight? Only time will tell as they get things heated up and ready to get going. The grid onto the final straight, where the green lights will go, and we will have 40 minutes of non-stop racing from start to finish.
Green flag, green flag.
And there is the green flag. It's a good getaway from the Porsche from pole position. Terrell already up to 3rd, gets ahead of Van Kampenhout. But going into turn 1, it's Mercedes Harrison who wants to take advantage. Slight contact with Terrell on the inside. Mercedes Harrison has to go to the escape road and rejoins on the outside of turn 3. Terrell goes through. The Ferrari of Lucarelli goes up to 4th, and Mercedes Harrison contact with the Porsche, and the Corvette gets spun around, pirouettes, and will rejoin next to Ryan Joyner. So Cabral with the race lead. I know it says Van Kampenhout, but he is actually in 3rd place. Not sure why the timing charts thinks he's in 1st, but that will be something to certainly keep our eyes on. But Van Kampenhout in 4th place. Ivan Cabral leads the way in the 157. He has about a 1.2 second gap over Terrell, and then it's Lucarelli in 3rd, Van Kampenhout 4th, Afawakwa in 5th, Josh Hildenbrand 6th, Jace Wright 7th, Echo up a place, Terrell and Echo swapping places, and George Elmer moves up into the top 10. And there we go, Van Kampenhout back in the correct position, the Ferrari with a good run on the Porsche ahead, and the two similar Mercedes behind. Lucarelli to the inside, and a tap to Terrell, who goes spinning into the gravel at turn 1. Lucarelli just stuck his nose a little bit late there, just couldn't hold that inside. A slight tap to the rear end of the Porsche, and spinning goes Terrell. He rejoins back in 11th place, with Van Kampenhout applying the pressure now to Lucarelli for 2nd place. And Callie, thank you for the sub for 30 months. That is an amazing streak. What is that, 2 years? 2.5 years. So thank you for the continued support and all of the hard work you do for Trackalicious as well. Couldn't be here without great people like you guys. So thank you for doing all that you guys do to make this community as good as it is. Slow Boy, welcome. Thank you for the follow. We're watching a battle for the top 3. Ivan Cabral leads by 2.6 seconds. Van Kampenhout in 3rd. He's got Lucarelli in front of him, and Nana Afawakwa wants to get another podium position here as he looks to get on the back. And how about this? Echo up to the top 5, as there appears to have been some drivers falling out of this one. Ali back in the pits. Abube Honor and Jace Wright also back in the pit lane. So Cabral continues to extend his gap. Lucarelli wants to try to break away from the 810, but there is just not a lot of pace in that Ferrari to do so at the moment, but still holding ground in 2nd and not really allowing the 810 to attack, but not if he dips a wheel into the gravel like that. That will really open up the eyes of Thibaut Van Kampenhout to try and look for an opportunity by the number 11. So after the spin at turn 1, contact and spin at turn 1, I should say, Jake Terrell recovering back up to 8th. Next car ahead of him is Joshua Hildenbrand in the number 7 BMW, a bit wide, exiting 13. But all is calm and steady, or excuse me, that was turn 12 they were exiting, where he dips the wheel into the gravel. But nonetheless, still right on the tail of Hildenbrand. He's got the slipstream, but not a lot of straight line speed advantage for that Porsche over the BMW. Here in the corners is where the 83 will try to make up most of his time. And down the inside of turn 3, a bit of a window opened, and Jake Terrell goes through. Can George Elmer go through as well? He's thinking of about the move in the Ferrari, but not quite able to send it down the inside, because he's also has to worry about Samuelson behind him in the Lexus. And there is Mercedes Harrison as well in 11th place, almost back into the top 10. A bit of a wiggle exiting turn 5 down the hill. Saw Mercedes with a moment in lap 1 as well, but still very much in this one and recovering well up until this point. Next target is the top 10 position of Brett Samuelson, and there's a great 5-car battle we have going on here, maybe even 6, with Zach Terrell leading the charge in the 69 from 6th. And it is getting very close between the Ferrari, Lexus, and BMW. Elmer goes into the gravel, though. That's going to slow down his momentum all the way down the straight. Can Samuelson take advantage in the Lexus? He doesn't have the straight line speed to do so. He will have to tuck back in and hope that Mercedes Harrison doesn't find a way through either. Corvette just lingering on that inside line there. The two Terrells go through, and the Porsches As I think Samuelson thinking of the move around the outside. Where did Samuelson go? He's off the track and into the gravel. So Samuelson on the outside. Oh, and nearly spun it, rejoining the track. Not sure if there was contact between him and the others he was battling. But nonetheless, the Lexus ends up in the gravel and having to recover from this one. Elmer trying to defend the inside, but Harrison sweeps through turn number 9 and gets what is now 7th place for the Corvette. Thank you, Kanta, for the follow. Welcome in. Hope you are enjoying the stream so far. A bit of a hectic start so far in the first 8.5 minutes of this one. But still a good bit to go in the 40-minute sprint. Ivan Cabral running away with it. 5.6 seconds between himself and second place sitter Grant Lucarelli in the sister Ferrari. He's got Afawakwa now behind him as Van Kampenhout has dropped to the back. He's in 17th. I wonder what happened to the 810 there. We were tuned into other battles. And now Van Kampenhout at the back of the grid. He's still running in this one, so must have just taken a visit to the pit lane. Oh, rip. The internet decided to Alt F4. You gotta hate when that happens. This shuffles the whole grid essentially up a position. And we'll see if oh my goodness. We'll see if Afawakwa can challenge Grant Lucarelli for that second place position. About half a second between them now. But without the 810 in the middle, the 23 can focus directly ahead of the Ferrari. And there seems to be a bit of an internet trouble as well for the 23 as he vanished momentarily from our screens. Oh, and Hildenbrand with a moment into the gravel. Where is this? It looks like at the Sector 3, exiting turn 12 there, he's going to be passed by Joyner and Mateo, so he will slot back into 10th. Oh, well, thanks, Kanta. I appreciate that. So now the Terrells swapping positions. Jake ahead of Zach, up to 4th, 6 seconds. The gap between himself and the podium positions. So after all of that trouble for Terrell, he is back into the position he started. Lucarelli and Afawakwa up 3 places from where they started. Same with Zach Terrell in 5th. Harrison down 4 after starting from the front row, but it's a good recovery in the 830, and those are the big movers in 7th, 8th, and 9th. Elmer, Mateo, and Joyner up 6 or 7 places. And Echo was running inside the top 5. Unfortunately, the 27 now outside the top 10 in 11th. Porkchop up to 12th, up 6 places from where he started. Up 4 is one Bigley. Samuelson, Ali, the 2 Lexuses, unfortunately, back some places, and Van Kampenhout still running in this one, but back from where he started inside the top 5. Trouble for Afawakwa. No, never mind. I thought that was the gap. Here we go. Interval is what we need. 0.7 seconds between Afawakwa and Lucarelli. Sorry for the scare, everybody. All still under control in the number 23 AMG. The gap just opening up a bit of a slide going into turn 1 as we saw just tuning in with Afawakwa. And perhaps the tires beginning to show their wear here. Conditions not exceptionally warm, but still quite on the warm side. The gap for the race leader, Ivan Cabral, 7.3 seconds up until this point in the race. Ryan Joyner with some company behind. It's Green Echo getting close, and this is for a spot in the top 10. Can he send a move down the inside of turn 10? Not quite close enough to do so just yet. In the number 27, the Corvette defends the position and wants to hang on to top 10. And this is the opportunity he was looking for down the inside of the final corner with Joyner running a touch wide. Easy position gained for the Porsche, just slipped through the inside with Joyner losing a bit of speed through the gravel as well. Just can't quite keep up with the Porsche there and the straight line speed. But he will look to stay close and try to get the pair of them close to Joshua Hildenbrand up in 9th. Brett Samuelson catching up to Dr. Porkchop. We saw him battling for a spot inside the top 10 earlier as well, before taking a visit through the gravel trap at that corner there at turn 4. Porkchop certainly knows how to defend in that Aston Martin. We'll see how much of a fight he will put up against the Lexus of Samuelson. Harrison and Terrell going side by side, but the Corvette has the inside through turn 12 and will get the position. The Porsche tries to get the overspeed on the exit, but not a heavy braking zone through 13 and 14 to try and get a pass back. He will have to wait and try and use the slipstream now down this long main straight and fight the Corvette into turn 1. At the moment, Mercedes has a spot back in the top 5. Zach Terrell in 6th. George Elmer's not too far away from this battle either. That red and yellow Ferrari lingering about 2 seconds down the road. I agree, Conce. It's a good recovery for Harrison and Jake just up the road, and he is able to really cut into the gap of Afawakwa. I believe it was around 6 seconds the last time we checked. Nearly split that in half. It's at 3.3 as he goes into sector 3. You can see, though, a bit of damage on the front end of the Porsche. So, not exactly sure how much that's affecting the performance of the number 83. Doesn't seem too bad, though, with how much Jake is able to keep pushing in this one, and almost within 3 seconds of Afawakwa flashing up the road there. And into the grass goes Terrell for the iRacing Pro line. And Zach Terrell not really giving Mercedes Harrison a lot of breathing room. And Elmer certainly getting closer, within 1.5 seconds now, to challenge Terrell for 6th. Here we go, Samuelson trying the move down the inside, but Porkchop is unfazed at turn 1. He's gonna have to look for another way through in the number 29. See the different cars taking different lines through that corner. And Samuelson trying to find any sort of overlap he can to get ahead of the 71 Aston Martin. But at the moment, there is just no room through. And once again, Porkchop down the inside on the defensive, forcing Samuelson onto the gravel as he just keeps pushing and pushing in the Lexus, but no way through. The 71 of Porkchop once again putting on a defensive masterclass. While doing so, these two really aren't losing too much ground to Ryan Joyner up ahead in 11th. There is the red, blue, and yellow Corvette passing through. And then the two-car battle we're focused on now. These two trying to stay as close as possible to Joyner. It'll be an 11th place finish for them. And there is a good run out of the final corner for the Lexus. Can he line it up down the inside, going early? Porkchop back on the racing line. How much is he gonna fight it? Can he go later on the brakes, side by side through turn 1? But in turn 2, the Lexus gets ahead and moves up to 12th. And this battle inside the top 10 picking back up. Harrison in 5th, Terrell 6th, Elmer 7th. All three within a second of each other. Just about. Elmer just slipping back there as we head through turns 8 and 9. But certainly still staying close in the number 22. Minutes to go, a little less than halfway. 9.5 seconds is the gap for Ivan Cabral ahead of Grant Lucarelli in 2nd place. Nana Afawakwa in 3rd, but the gap between himself and Jake Terrell in 4th is closing ever so slightly, lap by lap. He's within 3 seconds now of the podium positions. Number 83 Porsche up to 2nd in the early goings of the race, but dropped back outside the top 10, but recovered very well up until this point. See if he can maybe snag a podium out of this one. And like you said, Kanta, it looks like Ivan Cabral is controlling this one at the front pretty well. And then inside the top 5, we have Mercedes Harrison in a similar position to Terrell, recovering up to that position. Then Zach Terrell in 6th, Elmer in 7th, Diego Mateo. A bit of a quiet race for the Mustang. Haven't had to say his name much, but he's sitting inside the top 10 in 8th. Green Echo in 9th, Joshua Hildenbrand rounds out the top 10. And then it's Ryan Joyner and Brett Samuelson going side by side out of turn 5, but the Corvette onto the gravel, slowing him way down. And the Lexus moves up into 11th, Joyner to 12th, and Porkchop is right there in 13th to try and engage in a battle with the Corvette. One Bigley running in 14th, about 15 seconds behind them. Thibaut van Kampenhout back in the pits, as is Hashim Ali. Brian DeSantiago, Jace Wright, and Ebube Honor. So Terrell not really allowing Harrison to escape up the road, but at the same time, he's not really close enough to try and fight for a top 5 position either. In the middle of a battle, certainly, with Elmer looming in his mirrors in that bright red Ferrari. I guess it's more yellow on the front, but still very apparent in the mirror. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that Lucarelli may have switched from the Aston Martin. Unless he was driving the Porsche. I can't remember. I want to say Lucarelli was in the Aston Martin for the first half of this season. But yeah, like you said, just couldn't get to grips with it because the BOP that it currently has, not very favorable on a lot of the tracks. George Elmer closing in. He's within half a second. Terrell slowed down on the exit of the final corner. And it is a long run to get slowed down there into turn 1. Can Elmer find a way through? Not quite yet, but he is going to be closer than he's been before on any previous lap to try and find a way through the Porsche and move up to 6th. Oh, and Elmer nearly going into the gravel there to just about avoids it. But just can't stick as close to the bumper of Terrell as he would like to try and challenge him into a few of these heavy braking zones. Jake Terrell on the back of Afawakwa, the 23, certainly under pressure now. The 83 within a second of a podium position. Yeah, that's the easier said than done, Kansa. Certainly a 10-second gap is important to have, but yes, the consistent driving is another thing, and he just needs another 13 and a half minutes of it, and he will be the first race winner of the season other than Jake Terrell here, who's looking to get back onto the podium with Nana Afawakwa ahead of him. This is how the championship is looking up until this point after 4 rounds and a drop race. Jake Terrell in the lead with 81 points. Ivan Cabral in second with 54. Then Nana Afawakwa, the driver, right ahead of Terrell, sits in third place. 7 points clear of Zach Terrell in fourth. Mercedes Harrison in fifth and in fifth place in the race with 24 points on the season. Daniel Kondrashuk and Hashim Ali tied with 21 for 6th and 7th. Then Diego Mateo in his Mustang with some quiet and consistent races sits in 8th place. Oh, not sure why Van Kampenhout is in the Corvette. but he's in the AMG. He's in 9th, and Ryan Eason in 10th. And now Terrell, thinking of the move down the inside, Afo Aqua opens the door, and Jake Terrell walks right through. A lag switch. It's a simple trick, but very effective. But Jake Terrell was unhindered by that. He wants second place. He's got 11 minutes, 40 seconds, 3.8 seconds the gap between himself and Lucarelli for that second place step of the podium. Let's check in on brother Zach Terrell, still in the middle of a battle here with Harrison in front and George Elmer behind, but the gaps are closing in. Getting closer to being bumper to bumper between these three. But it's Harrison who's running at the front of this three-car train. Elmer getting closer to Terrell than Terrell is to Harrison, in a bit of a wiggle from the Porsche, exiting 12. Those were the championship standings after 4 rounds. They are not updated live. But what is happening live is Elmer down the inside of Terrell for 6th place. Can the Ferrari hold it down the inside? Terrell wants to try the over-under, cuts through the inside of the track. Elmer nearly goes onto the gravel, but he keeps the speed and he keeps the position. Up to 6th place goes the number 22. Can he chase down the Corvette and get a top 5 finish here? That would be cool if there was a way to get some live championship points. Terrell lining up the move through the quick turn 9. Down the inside goes the Porsche, but Elmer still hangs on to it around the outside. With all this battling, Harrison is going to breathe a sigh of relief with a near 2-second gap opening up between himself and the duo of Elmer and Terrell, fighting for 6th and 7th. Yeah, it might have just slipped down the inside a little bit too much. But now's going to be a good opportunity for the 69 Porsche to try and get ahead of the number 22 with the slipstream, and Elmer a bit too far back from the Corvette to benefit from the same advantage. And the Terrell just can't get close enough, even with the slipstream, to the Ferrari to try and challenge him through turn 1. Cabral leads by nearly 14 seconds now over Lucarelli. Terrell ever so slightly digging into the gap to Grant Lucarelli. Now, just under 3 seconds momentarily. Afawakwa still staying close in 4th. And then Harrison runs in 5th ahead of this duo of Elmer and Terrell. Diego Mateo 8th. Echo in 9th. Hildenbrand rounds out your top 10. In Sector 3, especially through the first part of Sector 3, the 69 really seems to have an advantage over the Ferrari ahead. But if Elmer can maintain his position, he has the straight line speed advantage to not allow the Porsche to sneak through the inside after the long main straight, exiting turn 14. And Terrell onto the grass momentarily. Once again, just slowing his momentum down ever so slightly, allowing just another 10th or so to open up in between himself and Elmer. Yeah, and that fighting has grown the gap to a further 2.5 seconds to Mercedes Harrison in 5th. Terrell taking out half a second on this lap alone. Not sure if there's an issue with Lucarelli. I remember last week some drivers had some issues with VE, but it looks like this week no such trouble. Lucarelli is running a touch lower than his competitors at 20% compared to 35% for the Porsches and Nana Afawakwa. Harrison a little bit low as well, running under 20%. Elmer and Terrell in 6th and 7th should be good to go to the end. Same with Mateo. Echo with 17%. Samuelson and Joyner join him at right around 20. So we'll see if that'll be enough to get these drivers to the end of the race. Just a little over 5 minutes left. A handful of laps remain for Terrell to try and get onto 2nd place. Less than 2 seconds between him and Grant Lucarelli in the number 11 Ferrari. Zach Terrell's not giving up in the battle to George Elmer either, still within a second of the Ferrari. And it needs to dig in here through the corners to try and get close to the Ferrari, because down the straights it really seems like the 22 can handle the Porsche being behind it even with the slipstream. Oh, sorry, Callie, missed your message. Yes, some absolutely great battles going on tonight. Some side-by-side action. Some contact here and there, but that is to be expected with racing. Great recovery drives from Terrell and Harrison. And look at this. Jake Terrell getting closer to Lucarelli. What's up, Keith? Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. And here we go. Half a second. I think Lucarelli is really thinking about his virtual energy now, because he might just be lifting and coasting to try and save enough to get to the end of this one. These two did come into contact earlier at this corner in the early goings of the lap, and there is Terrell going through. So now it makes it a Porsche 1-2 with Cabral in the lead. Terrell up to 2nd place. Lucarelli made that one pretty easy for him, so he will slide back to 3rd in the number 11. Now can Nana Afawakwa get close enough to the Ferrari, who seems to be saving his virtual energy? And a bit of a wiggle on the entry through turn 5. Elmer finding a bit of pace here after Terrell dropping back more than a second. 1.7 between the Ferrari of Elmer and Mercedes Harrison in the top 5. So still lots of little battles going on here. Not over yet until the checkered flag. Cabral gets to the end of turn 1 with a little under 2 minutes to go, so we should have 2 more laps to go of GT3 action here tonight. Terrell dropping back over a second to Elmer. Can Harrison hang on to the top 5? With Elmer closing in on the past few laps. You guys do races at earlier times in the day. This is the earliest LMU time slot. On Mondays, the rookies in ACC starts 30 minutes before the start time today. And that's going to be the earliest one, unfortunately. Into the final minute we go. Cabral with a 17-second gap over Jake Terrell, who has recovered absolutely brilliantly to get up to that second place position. Lucarelli in third, Afawakwa fourth. Harrison rounds out the top 5. We can see that grid progress here exactly. Terrell, Lucarelli, and Afawakwa up 2 places from where they started. Cabral maintaining his pole position all the way from start until here. Harrison down 3 places, but that's certainly not reflective of the race that Harrison has had. Dropped outside the top 10 in the early goings and had to recover up until this point. And now Elmer in 6th, up 7 places from where the Ferrari started. That is a great run from him, and Diego Mateo in 8th. Zach Terrell up 1 from his starting position. Echo back to where he started in 9th. And Joshua Hildenbrand up 1 to get himself into the top 10. Final lap. Here we go. Gaps opening up there between Harrison, Elmer, and Terrell, as everybody should be good to go on virtual energy to the end here. And just 1 sector left. A few right-hand corners left for Ivan Cabral, who has put on a masterclass of a performance here in round number 5 around Barcelona. The 157 qualified on pole position, took the race lead early on, and has never been challenged. 17.5 seconds will be the gap between himself and Terrell. Cabral, take a bow. Well done. First race win of the season for the 157. Take a bow, Terrell, as well. Great recovery in the 83 to get to second place. Grant Lucarelli back onto the podium after switching to the Ferrari. Afawakwa across the checkered flag in 4th place. Harrison looks like is gonna hang on to that top 5 finish, but George Elmer certainly putting on a challenge all the way up until the end in the number 22 Ferrari. The 830 Corvette in 5th, the 22 Ferrari 6th, the 69 Porsche in 7th. Then you've got Diego Mateo across the line in 8th, with Echo not too far behind, about 1.5 seconds in 9th. Hildenbrand will round out your top 10 in the number 7 BMW, with Brett Samuelson in 11th in the Lexus. Ryan Joyner and Dr. Porkchop still close on track here. 1 second between Joyner in 12th and Porkchop in 13th. And that's everybody back in the pits. Unfortunately, we lost one Bigley, Hashim Ali, Brian DeSantiago, Thibaut Van Kampenhout, Jace Wright, and a Bube Honor from this one. Let's take it back to our studio here as we wait for the top 3 to funnel in to see if they want to chat about how their race went tonight. And they are all ready to go. Welcome, Grant Lucarelli. Welcome, Ivan Cabral. And welcome, Jake Terrell. Congrats on the podium finishes tonight, gents. Ivan, we'll start with you. Pretty commanding performance there all the way from pole position. Kind of took the race lead early on. A bit of a challenge in the early few laps, but grew that gap and never looked back.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to dedicate this win to my family, who are usual viewers of this league, especially my dad, who's he always catch these races. So I would like to dedicate this win to them. And yeah, talking about a bit of my race. Yeah, quali. I knew coming into this race that it was probably my best opportunity to win. So I knew quali was going to be pretty like the main thing here, especially the run to turn 1. So that 41.5 in quali was one of my fastest laps here. And yeah, in race, I knew that the run to turn 1 is going to be the main thing. Because the slipstream from the line to the first corner is incredible in this track. So if I could keep my position, I knew that I could get a solid clean air and do my race pace like I knew I had. So yeah, I mean, it was ever since lap 2, 3, I knew that I was starting to gap the guys behind me. So yeah.
Yeah, and a great win to cap it all off. Big gap at the end. Jake, it was a good start for you. Bit of contact there early on and a great recovery all the way up to second place.
Yeah, the opening lap, it was tight between everybody, and I felt like I was giving Mercedes Harrison just enough room on the outside of me. And from my perspective, and from the car behind, it kind of looked like he chopped my nose off, and that was the opening lap contact that I had felt, and it kind of gave Ivan the space to pull away on the opening lap more. And then coming into turn 1 on lap 2, I might have braked early. Grant might have braked a little late. There was contact. I spun. And once I was back on track, besides the time I lost to Ivan while passing cars on track, the pace was honestly very similar and very steady. It's just when I started to get into traffic that the gap continued to grow a little bit more. So from my point of view, it's unfortunate, but I feel like if I had the cleanest start possible, there might have been a race for P1, but P2 is the best I could do tonight. And considering everything, getting P2 was definitely a best case scenario. So it works out for me.
Yeah, it sure does. And Grant, switching to the Ferrari for the first race of this season, and it got you a podium here tonight.
Yeah, I figured I'd go and just drive the manufacturer from the home country and kind of like just settle into that. So pretty excited to be on the podium too. It's been a few weeks since I've had the opportunity to race. I've just had stuff going on in my life. My grandfather passed away on Sunday in a pretty horrible motorcycle accident. So it's nice to be able to like come out here and do some racing and just kind of do the stuff that he liked when he was alive. So similar to Ivan, I like to dedicate like this race and everything to him and in his honor. So yeah, I think just overall the pace like was really good. Was pretty happy with the performance in qualifying. Obviously, I think I maybe had a few more tenths in me. I probably could have done like a 41.9, but nonetheless, like coming away with a podium and just the pace overall in the Ferrari felt really good. So very happy with the race today.
Yeah, sorry for your loss, Grant, but yeah, good on you to dedicate this and do all this in honor of him. So congrats on the podium. I'm sure you'll remember this one for a while. And same to you, Ivan. Well done dedicating it to your family. I see that some of them popping into the chat as well. So congrats, guys, on the podiums and the wins tonight. Good luck in the final 2 rounds. We're getting to the end of this one, guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a close battle, especially in a Spa next race. So, yeah, looking
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Maybe next week I'll actually do some practice.
Yeah.
No,
Good luck in the final 2 rounds.
That,
yeah.
gotta maintain that championship.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, 2 rounds left now. Well done, gents. Moving on back here to the green room. Spa next week. Paul Ricard to finish things off in 2 weeks' time. Tomorrow is the Wednesday Multi-Class Championship in ACC. They go into round number 6 at Suzuka. Tomorrow, they will start an hour later than we did tonight. Sunday, I believe, is the iRacing MX5 Cup. Don't quote me on that. And then Monday is our GT4 ACC Rookies Series. They are going into, I believe, round number 6 at Valencia, or round number 5. Round number 6 at Valencia next week. And then on Tuesday, same time, same place, we will be here for round number 6 at Spa to see if we can get a championship decided then, or whether we will have to wait until the season finale. But until then, hope you all enjoyed the stream. Thank you all for following along and all the chat tonight. That was great having some co-commentators alongside tonight. So glad to have you here. Hope to see you out on track with us as well. Get yourself signed up on SimGrid. And Trackalicious also hosting some track days in the Ohio Midwest region. So get yourself signed up for that on the Trackalicious website. Discord is the place to go for all of the latest news and information. And if you want, there's an Instagram page as well. Lots of cool pics getting posted just about daily on there. So if this is enough for you, go and follow all of those. We'll hope to see you tomorrow for ACC multi-class action. And until then, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be watching us from. I know some of you guys are up until the early morning hours. So yeah, hope to see you then. And if not, we'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Stay safe.